4 words kill more sales than any competitor ever could. I can't afford it. But what if I told you that that objection and those just like it are the keys to landing bigger deals? Trust me, I've been in those sweaty palm moments where a client will throw this curveball at you and your confidence walks out the door along with the sale. But if you think about it just a little bit differently, those objections are golden ticket to closing more deals. And by the end of this video, you'll be in the position to turn those awkward deal-breaking moments into opportunities that actually work in your favour. So if you're ready, let's dive in. First up, we have those silent but deadly objections. You know that feeling when everything seems smooth, but there's something lurking just beneath the surface. I was in a pitch once and I could sense that there was hesitation just radiating right across the table at me, but nothing was being said. And in that moment, the energy had shifted. So instead of continuing on and plowing through with my presentation or trying to sell and pitch further, I stopped and I asked one simple question. What concerns, Mr. Customer, do you have about our service? And suddenly it was like this verbal diarrhea coming back across the desk. Budget worries, concerns about the results, and business fears were all these different things that had absolutely nothing to do with our creative work. So, for a few brief minutes, we stopped talking about it. And this became a great conversation, a great discussion that gave us the chance to provide genuine business advice that ultimately worked in our favour. And remember, if you're constantly talking in your pitch, you're not listening, and I can't tell you how many agencies miss all of the opportunities because they're far too busy selling rather than listening and understanding. So, what I want you to do is to screenshot this. The best pitches are never one-sided. Your service is only one part of your client's overall business puzzle, and being a creative problem solver doesn't just stop within the Adobe ecosystem. Next up, we need to tackle the classics. I can't afford this, we're not ready yet, or my personal favourite, Connor, we can get it cheaper elsewhere. When I first heard any of these objections, I'd either just go, okay, Mr. Customer, we'll just drop the price, or look, just give us a call when you're ready. And this, I'll admit, was my mistake. Now, the first thing I do is I acknowledge the excuse. Okay, Mr. Customer, that's completely understandable and you're not alone. Many of my clients felt exactly the same way initially, and then they realised that the cost of doing nothing or getting it wrong far outweighed any investment with us. This simple acknowledgement opens the door for a real conversation instead of ending it. One client looked me dead in the eye and he said, Connor, that's mental money for a website. I've been quoted 7k over here with this other agency. 1 week later, he signed with us for 15k, over double what he was quoted elsewhere. And this didn't happen by chance, and it didn't happen by accident. Here is what changed his mind. We identified that just 2 sales directly from their new website would cover the entire cost. But here's the key. We didn't just talk about colours and UX and aesthetics, wireframes and page plans. We discussed lead generation, value, and ultimately the profit. The potential return for getting it done right outweighed any cost concerns. And then when we explained our process to maximise their opportunity to a level that made us not the only option, but the safe one. Yes, we were more expensive, but we were able to demonstrate how we would maximise the return on their investment. Now, here's a warning. If you roll over on this objection, you will lose trust fast. Address any concerns confidently and then turn them into the commercial opportunities. Before I share strategy number 3, there's something most agencies get completely wrong when facing hostile objections. Have you ever sat in a meeting where everyone's on board except Sheila from accounts? And Sheila from accounts usually is so far removed from the project and she throws out the weirdest questions, and she'll always direct them at you, not anyone else in your team, always you. In another instance, I had an MD who was properly angry, not at us, but at the previous agency's feelings, and it was almost like he was putting the blame on us before we'd even started. You need to guarantee the results, or the last team didn't deliver. We're sitting there, it wasn't even us, it was doing the work. The logo doesn't need changing, all of these different things, and it was an attack on service. And it was relentless, and I have to admit, staying calm was incredibly tough. But then I opened the conversation with these open-ended questions about their past experiences, and I respectfully challenged their understanding. We asked what he needed the site to do. Sheila, what do you need the site to do as well? And we asked what the opportunities were for them and their business, whatever their function was in the business. And then we explained our process to meet their needs and exceed them. Within minutes, they shifted from being defensive to excited about the possibilities. And this is when the magic happens. Because when you switch that person from being argumentative to being in your corner, they will become your biggest advocate. And I will not lie, some of those victories are the sweetest. The next objection is a controversial one, but it has closed me multiple six figures in deals over the years. When a client fires off questions like, Mr. Customer will say to you, what concrete results can you show? Or how does this apply to my industry? Most agencies just go, panic. And I had a client named, actually I can't mention the name, but for anonymity's sake, we'll call her Jenna. And Jenna grilled me with rapid fire questions just like that. But here is what separated us from anyone else in the competition. Preparation. Now, I always carried a case study brochure with me at any time, and this brochure demonstrated every commercial objective that my ideal clients were likely to ask. Growth in revenue, moving into new markets, potential acquisition or sale, recruitment and retention, and a myriad of other activities that they would be engaged in or focused on. And here's the secret that most agencies miss. They are vague with their answers, because specificity is your best friend and instantly separates you from everyone else. So let me explain that. One client of mine, a racecourse, went from 322,000 people in attendance at their annual festival to 326,469 the year after rebrand. Their new stand sold out on release day with €1,000 per head tickets. In that instance, we helped deliver commercial value, additional profit, and we helped increase the value of their overall brand. Another client took their business from 50 million to 55 million revenue the year after rebranding, and this company introduced new products, moved into new markets, scaled revenue, post-rebrand and website launch. Another client repositioned itself from the public sector to the private sector following a change in government legislation. Where they were previously unknown in the private sector, they became a huge entity in the market overnight. Now, ask yourself this. Do you know this type of information for your clients? And if you did, could you use it to overcome objections? I know each of my clients' commercial ambitions because they are intrinsically linked to the work that I do. While you could argue, of course, that our work alone did not contribute 5 million in revenue to that business, I know that it was a huge part of the growth plan that affected every single factor and every single function in their business. Yes, they had an outstanding team already delivering a record year, but this was now backed by brand confidence that had not been seen in decades. Next up, we have show-off objections. Clients who want to flaunt their knowledge about your industry, and you'll get them the know-it-alls. Just last week, I had a client who grilled me about complex workflows and automations that they'd seen me use on LinkedIn. And years ago, I would have felt threatened. But today, the opposite. And I spoke to that client and said, you know your stuff, obviously. And have you looked at implementing X, Y, or Z? And this embracement of his knowledge turned it into a brilliant conversation where we absolutely nerded out about the opportunities for automation and AI workflows within their business. Why this works is because it makes the customer feel valued and ultimately respected, and we're engaging them on the level of expertise that they have, which will build a rapport and open up the door for you to demonstrate how you can amplify their existing knowledge, skills, and grow their business. And here's a quick tip that I guarantee you most people forget to do. Compliment them on their skills, their knowledge before you present your solutions. It will shift the dynamics in your favor. If you're still watching at this stage, you're serious about objection handling. And I'm going to share one now that I've never shared publicly before. And those are subjective objections. They are the personal feelings about you or your agency. And unfortunately, these can be brutal. I started my business at the age of 27. I was a young entrepreneur, and back then, entrepreneurship wasn't cool like it is today. Being young was a negative. And I was walking into meetings and back out of them, and the clients, were doubting my capabilities completely outright, and they told me to my face. Initially, I went into defense mode, and my back was up, and because of that, so were my clients. It was a complete disaster. So instead of defending myself, I completely changed the script and pivoted. Okay, Mr. Customer, tell me about your business goals for the next 12 months. This redirected their negativity of my age into reflection on their own aspirations, letting me align our services with their vision. Okay, so that's your goal, and how do you think branding can help? This opened up the conversation, and when you put yourself in the position as the opportunity to help them build their business or earn more money or meet their business goals, you diffuse subjectivity and you allow yourself to focus on the objectivity of your work. But watch out for this trap. Defending yourself in any situation in a client meeting or prospective client meeting rarely helps. Keep the focus on your clients and not you. Have you ever sat across somebody in a meeting and think to yourself, why are you so defensive or angry? This general sales resistance is when they're in that classic closed off, sitting with their arms crossed position. Does that sound familiar? Well, here's the tactic that increased my close rate by quite a bit. Would you mind, Mr. Customer, if I asked you some questions about your needs? If you think about it, I wasn't trying to convince them that our service was the best, or I wasn't even trying to sell at that time, but rather I was starting to listen and understand their needs. And this could be the MD, but it could also be Sheila in accounts, because even though she may not be the decision maker, your project and your service will ultimately impact all functions of the business. And this shows genuine interest and will break the ice. Clients love talking about themselves, and entrepreneurs love talking about their business. The more you listen, the more questions you prompt, the more you will learn. And I promise that these prospective clients will often give you the answer to their own objections if you just listen. Finally, you have those last-ditch objections when a prospect almost is ready to sign, but they pause at the final hurdle. And I had a client who needed reassurance before committing to a significant investment with us. Instead of pushing harder and trying to close the sale, I paused and validated her concerns by sharing stories of past clients who felt exactly the same, but then went on to enjoy fantastic results with our business. The weapon here, if you want to call it that, is empathy combined with social proof. We used the case study brochures extensively, and we had our pitch decks with us as well. If they had a business challenge, I was confident that not only would it be in that brochure, but I had it memorized and could talk confidently about the challenges that they faced. Over time, my own team learned this as well, and they could then dovetail in my conversation, and this made for a much stronger objection handling process. And I have used this exact approach in hundreds, if not thousands of pitches, and it works because you've stopped selling and you're providing genuine reassurance based on your real experiences and results. There you have it, 8 strategies to convert objections into opportunities. You have to remember though that these objections are no longer barriers, they are prompts to reveal what the clients truly value. Don't stress about them too much, because when you know how to handle them and how to address them, they are no longer barriers to getting a sale. Something important that you need to know is that you personally, your team, do not have to be the best objection handlers in every area. The skills of listening and understanding what the client's objections actually are is the most important factor. The strategies then to overcome these and to handle those objections come easily beyond that. So, I'd like to leave you with a challenge, and my challenge to you today over the next month or whatever that is to pick 3 of those strategies from this video and implement them in your next number of client meetings. Reflect then as well on your past objections. Are you better positioned now to handle them than you were before? Because if you are, I've given you the strategies and the tools to handle those objections that will get you hundreds of thousands of pounds in extra revenue over your career. If that has helped, please do hit that subscribe button, because I've got hundreds more videos planned just like this that will help you sell more and to scale your agency. In the meantime, if you want to dive a little bit deeper into my content, head over to courses.moveapace.com and check out my Selling Creative Services course, where there's over 4 hours of content, workbooks, frameworks, and multiple PDFs to help you sell the services that you sell for the value you deserve. Thank you as always for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.